Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to Sincerely Bhakti, Episode 1. So for this year of 2021, I'm going to be reading the Srimad Bhagavad-gītā, this book here, and translation and commentary by Bhaktivedanta Swami. So I have, for each day that I offer a post, I will put the verse below in the description box, and you can have a link also to the full purport for that verse, as well as kind of a quick sum up of the setting of the Bhagavad-gītā and why it's even being spoken, because Bhagavad-gītā translates as the Song of God. So the Song of God is a conversation between Krishna, or God, Bhagavan, and Arjuna, a chariot driver, and the setting is a battlefield. So each day that I offer my realizations, I will choose a verse and offer some reflections based on also what Srila Prabhupada or Bhaktivedanta Swami is saying in his purport for that verse. So for this particular verse that I chose from today's reading, I chose kind of like 10 and 12 because I find that they're connected. And so the one I'm focusing on is verse 10 of chapter 1. And again, you can see the link for that verse down below. So I'll just read the English. So it's translated as, this is Duryodhana speaking to his armies, and specifically to grandfather Bhishma, who is his general and his mentor in battle. Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pāṇḍavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. So in this verse, you can see that Duryodhana is trying to ascertain who's going to win by examining both sides. And he's trying to convince himself that we're going to win. And actually, by all logical reasons, the Kurus would win. And actually, Prabhupada says here, regarding Duryodhana's arguments that they would win, is that his conclusion, Duryodhana's conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious, was well ascertained. So Duryodhana is actually making logical arguments, and his side, this non-virtuous side that is fighting against the Pāṇḍavas, or the virtuous side, they have greater armies, and the general, grandfather Bhishma, is way more experienced. And in fact, grandfather Bhishma was the one who taught everyone else these military arts. So yes, it was well ascertained that yes, they would come out victorious. But the problem here is that Duryodhana, he is envious, and they're non-virtuous. This side, it is shown time and time again in the epic Mahābhārata that the Kurus are not virtuous. They don't choose the right action, the right behavior, time and time again. And so in this, especially Duryodhana is envious of Bhima, who is the general of the Pāṇḍavas. And Prabhupada says here actually that Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima because he knew that he would be killed by him eventually. So even in his kind of checking out both sides of the armies, there's some envy there, there's some insecurity, right? And so even though logically it all adds up, there's something missing. And even in verse 12, when grandfather Bhishma, he realizes Duryodhana is just trying to soothe himself. We're actually not going to win this war. And grandfather Bhishma, his own general, is acknowledging this. But he decides to blow his conch shell to kind of reassure the armies and reassure Duryodhana, okay, we're going to lose, but let me just boost your confidence a little bit. And Prabhupada says in this verse 12 purport, he says, in the symbolism of the conch shell, he informed his depressed grandson Duryodhana that he had no chance of victory in the battle because the Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa was on the other side. So I was thinking about putting these two verses together. There's something very interesting about the two of them, which is that, yes, Duryodhana is saying that logically the Kurus are meant to win, this non-virtuous side. They're more powerful, they're more experienced. But at the end of the day, even Bhishma knows, grandfather Bhishma, he knows that because we don't have God on our side, we are destined to lose. And I was thinking in regards to even our lives or even the world, it seems like logically the non-virtuous behavior and non-virtuous actions of the world, that's going to win out. The victory of evil seems well ascertained. We can see the way that the world is going in terms of just the pollution of the planet, the exploitation of people who are vulnerable, women and children, elderly. We can see so much corruption happening on such a wide scale, and we hear about it immediately thanks to social media. And it would seem all is lost. But if we can just take this one key point, that actually, if we just surrender to God in one small way, the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, if he's on our side, there is hope. So there is some way for us to come out of this, even though we may be overwhelmed by the non-virtuous aspects of this world in our own hearts. So I was appreciating that even though the non-virtuous side, it's well ascertained that they're going to win. Logically, it makes sense that God is beyond all sense of logic. He's beyond this material world and the functionings of how things happen. And so I'm just appreciating that God is always within reach. I can make that step, and I can choose to step forward. So thank you for listening to this first episode. We'll see how this goes, and I hope to see you again soon. Hare Krishna.